Hello everyone, welcome to the next video, and in today's video it will be none other than Averbakh himself, who is going to play with the white pieces. Of course, this game was played long after the variation was named after him. So let's see how it went. He also started with c4, but quickly they transposed back. Knight d7, queen d2, e5, d5. So standard ideas, a5, h4, and here what can be considered the main line of this knight d7, e5, or knight a6, e5 systems when black is playing with c6, and actually black is doing the same what we are doing on the king side, that he's going to play in the side where actually white is stronger. Mainly not with the goal of crushing us on the queen side, which would be impossible to do anyway, but with the goal to slow down our play there, or gain some space and make it very difficult for us to progress. But as we will see, it sounds good, but it's not that easy to do. Okay, so knight h3 was played, cd, bishop d7. It's very normal, so bishop is controlling b5 square. Later the pawn can be pushed. So knight f2, a4, g4. That's what we do, queen a5. Now black is preparing to push b5, h5, rook fc8, and knight d1. So these are all very standard moves from both sides, and so basically black cannot do anything on the king side really, and he's hoping that also white cannot do much on the queen side. So queen takes on d2, bishop took in this game, king d2 is also fine. So bishop takes, knight e8, and now knight e3. So this is already somewhat unpleasant threat of going with the knight to c4 sometimes. So black played bishop f6, knight c4, and he was in time with bishop d8 to stop this knight d6 fork. So I would say so far, maybe the players even played quite quickly, because everything is very normal and kind of standard for this variation. But here I really like the move what Averbakh played. So maybe you could take some time and try to figure out what did he do. So he played this very nice move, knight to a3. So it is against b5, and it is also with the idea of playing bishop b5 at some moment and to trade, our bad bishop. So why it is a bad bishop? Because all our pawns are on light squares here, so it is well restricted. But once we can trade, then the light squares for black are going to be weaker. And yeah, and why it is a difficult system for black? Because it's really tough to play actively. So black played f5, but it rather helps to create more areas for white to break through than to create any active ideas for black. So what else black could have done? Black similarly could have played like bishop a5, so changing his bad bishop, because the pawns are like that, for our, so to say, good bishop on d2. So let's say we take, rook takes on a5, so we play king d2, and for example g5. So this is the way where, this is the way where black is just trying also to close the king side and to hold the position on the queen side. So here basically you can also understand why black is doing all of these things, because if the rook would be back on a8 and let's say the pawn back on a7, then it would be so much easier for white to push forward, at least like with b4 or doubling the rooks and then very easily playing b4. On the other hand, of course, pushing the pawn creates some weak squares on the b file. So rook c1, king f8, and normally, the most important thing for us here is to get rid of this c5 knight. So as long as the knight is on the board, it's very hard for white to break through. It's such a well placed knight. So knight d3, for example. Now black plays f6, and now rook c3. So basically, we just want to double here, then maybe play knight c4, and eventually, probably take on c5. For example, b5 to stop knight c4, rook c1. Let's say knight takes on d3, so now black cannot really hold on to this knight. So this is the problem, knight c1, rook c1, king e7, and yeah, black managed to trade a lot of material, but so here we have two options. We can bring the king over to b4. So that is a pretty nice square, and then to hit the pawn on b5. Or what is maybe even better, to bring the knight first to c2 and then to b4. And then we also have knight c6 ideas. And black just cannot do anything really, just but to wait passive. So that could have been the other way for the game to progress. Black decided to try something on the king side, but Averbakh punished it very, very nicely. So now h takes g6, h takes g6, gf, gf. So now what happened is that these two files are open, and it means that the black king, can get in danger. So for example, if we could play rook g1 in this position, then black is already like lost, but of course it is not possible. But we have a, kind of multi-purpose move, I would say, or multifunctional move, that we play bishop b5. We wanted to trade this bishop, and it also opens the square for the king on e2. So now black went bishop a5, king e2, bishop takes, knight takes, bishop takes d2, and before taking, the rook already came with a check to g1. So basically that's what black managed to achieve with this kind of pseudo activity, that his king is weak now. So now king f8 and king takes d2. So there is this strong knight here, and the rooks are ready to invade. Basically the position is already lost, and we can also ask ourselves that what exactly white did in this game. And probably the answer is that nothing bad, but it was basically black who was forcing the issue. So white just reacted, and he reacted correctly and therefore got a winning position. So that's that can sometimes summarize the Averbakh system, that if we just do our things, I mean, not very spectacular, but it can be very effective if opponent loses patience like this. So now fe, and unfortunately from this moment the notation of the game is messed up in the database, but I believe it's, I tried to correct it, and I believe it's quite easy. So in the database it's saying that white played rook h5. He obviously did not play rook h5. It doesn't make any sense. So he most probably went rook h8. I mean, I'm like 99% that the game went like this, but unfortunately we cannot be 100%. So king e7. Now rook h7 check. King goes to d8. And now rook g8. So basically now we have the threat of taking on d6. So black has to play rook to a6 and then knight g4. So we don't even have to take back on e4, knight g4. The idea of playing knight f6 and then mate here. So black has to go knight d7, protecting f6 square, but now rook h8, king e7, and one last nice move required from white, which is knight to c7. So if knight takes on c7, it's very interesting to take the exchange, but it's much better to give mate in one. And if rook takes on c7, then we simply take e8, king f7, and now a very smart move. Okay, of course, if we take on fe, then we are winning as well, but rook g8 is very smart, so the king is completely stalemated. The checkmate is unstoppable. So let's say black is playing a3, we give a check, king f6, and rook e6 is mate. So this was unstoppable. I mean, most likely the game ended like this. Unfortunately, once again, the notation is not correct, but the game was over in a few moves also, so probably in this way. So very effective and very convincing way from Averbakh. I mean, maybe one move which is really nice is knight a3. So with this bishop b5 idea, and just to know that black wants to do something like f5, then we should welcome it. But humanly speaking, it's especially extremely hard to play g5 and just to say, okay, if I am lucky, I can hold a draw. I never win, but let's hope it's a fortress. So a really classic game from Grandmaster Averbakh.